Hello. So I figure I might as well just yap about something that is kind of close to my heart, but something I've also noticed recently. So I've noticed that the film industry has been dying quite a lot, which is why you're probably seeing a lot of re-releases being in theaters, probably more often than original films. While it's a little sad to say that, I mean, not even counting like all the reboots and remakes that we've been getting. I mean, that's kind of been a trend that's been happening since the 2010s. It's amazing that a lot of these film companies sink so much money into some of these projects, and some of them just end up complete flops. Probably because they're spending a lot more money on star power that they're trying to bank on with the success of their films rather than trying to reconfigure the wagon, so to speak. Like there have been so many times where I sometimes go into either a reboot or remake, trying to expect something a bit different. You know, taking whatever franchise that they're adapting in a completely new direction, only to find it just suddenly doing the same old shit we've seen over and over again. And and you might be wondering, why even do the remake or re-releases? See, now I'm getting confused with like reboots and remakes and re-releases because I mean, I've practically at this point, I'm sure the general populace is just so, I don't know, brain rotted with all this familiarity around us. And while it is comforting, I mean, there's always that nostalgic factor to take into consideration when it comes to stuff like this happening. I can't help but think that this is a good thing for the film industry. Well, I mean, for starters, for film companies at least, it's just a lot easier to go with the re-release, whereas you only have to figure out just the marketing part of it. You know, I mean, aside from whatever restoration and whatever special features that a re-release does come with, profit marginally speaking, it's like a no-brainer to do something like that. And I mean, if you're going to invest so little money to begin with, I mean, you might as well put it into something that people already know and not necessarily have to take like a big risk or anything. But going back to the special content that does come with some re-releases, it just makes me a little sad for physical media being phased out almost entirely at this point. Um, I used to grow up with a lot of these DVD special features, and a lot of the reason why I want to go into filmmaking to begin with is because of my love for these things. I feel like I would watch these featurettes more than the actual movies themselves. So whenever I see a special featurette that gets paired up with a re-release, it makes me a little nostalgic for all the times that I used to just fast forward to the end of the tape just so I can get to that juicy bit. And I think, quite frankly, at this point, it's keeping theaters alive. I mean, to me, that's the most important part. Not that I'm like a shill for AMC or anything. I mean, AMC alone already has like a monopoly over the theater business as it is. But what I mean by that is just theaters as a whole. I don't think a lot of people have gone to the movies a lot recently if all they're doing is just waiting around for said movie to just come out on streaming. But when it comes to re-releases, to me personally, there's no harm in just airing out just a bunch of old reruns if it means keeping the theaters alive. Of course, there's also the age-old complaint about theaters overpricing the shit out of their snacks and beverages. Like, for example, just getting one person, like, a thing of popcorn and a large drink comes close to about 20 plus dollars when you can literally just go to 7-Eleven, get some nachos and a large Slurpee for just about $10. I feel like a lot of theater companies do offer discounts on just movie tickets alone, and they're not doing enough when it comes to that side of the business. I mean, I do get theaters have to feel the need to upcharge whenever customers are wanting to get food and beverages at their expense. But at the same time, could you be a little bit more lenient or at the very least offer similar discounts? Actual discounts, by the way. I mean, you naturally when you think of like a combo special, you think of it like that as a special. When it's really not. I mean, all it means is that you're paying more or less the same if you were getting these two individual items on their own. Like I don't think like 10 additional dollars is justifiable in my opinion. That's like a 50% increase in what you normally pay literally anywhere else. But at the end of the day, does it really constitute you going to the theaters just to see something that you might have already seen? Well, to that I say, maybe not everyone has seen every re-release that gets into theaters nowadays. I think there's a lot of people in this newer generation that really aren't getting their daily dose of the old classics, you know what I mean? Like take for instance, there's the new Jaws 50th anniversary re-release that's around the corner. Actually, it'll be coming out tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 28th, so it'll be out tomorrow on Friday. That's I actually want to go see that. Especially in today's day and age where you basically have to hunt down a movie on whatever varying streaming platform, it basically eliminates that entire process. And because a lot of these movies are regarded as classics, it makes it that much more special when going in the movies now. Like, if you want to talk about event factor, look no further than Star Wars. It literally, like 2 years even before their 50th anniversary, they're already announcing a re release for it. No matter what version of Star Wars does end up getting re released, just seeing it in theaters again is special all the same. I mean, a movie like that is basically what brought theaters, back into their truest form. If you look at the original 1977 release of Star Wars, just any like home video or any media footage that you could see of all the lines that used to circle around the blocks of the respective theaters, you could tell Star Wars was something big. But of course, I hope when they do release the 50th anniversary re release of Star Wars, that'll hopefully include the unaltered versions because for years now, I mean, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but there's just been no real good way of watching them officially. So yeah, I don't think having re-releases in theaters is necessarily a bad thing. Does it just only benefit theater companies and not necessarily film companies themselves? Yeah, but at the same time, it is keeping theaters alive, so I can't be too harsh with that. I mean, for one thing, again, it's like you already know what you're getting into for the most part, unless if it's a classic that you haven't seen before. But in the instance that it is a film that you haven't seen before, I can't think of any other way to view a film like that. For instance, if they happen to re-release The Godfather, for instance, I've never seen The Godfather, but I would be more than willing to see it on a film screen than on a television screen. And I think the same can be said for any movie with that kind of a reputation or scale to it. I mean, hell, when that whole 3D trend was happening and they were re-releasing films, but just in 3D form, some films actually do benefit from that. I mean, they're still doing 3D editions of films in theaters still, which is a bit of an upcharge, but it's still a neat experience when you do get a film that does happen to use those effects very well. Coraline was one of those films that came out just when that trend was starting to take off. So when that got re-released somewhat recently, seeing that at theaters again actually brought back a whole slew of memories that I just completely forgotten about. It was a very surreal experience, but at the same time, a film like Coraline definitely does benefit from one, a theater screen, and two, seeing it in 3D. Not that I've seen too much discourse on this topic, but I just feel like this is something that I don't think hurts film companies as much as it is just a quick buck for them. But even if it is, it still indicates that there are still some marketing trends to take away from this, even if it may imply that whatever data that they are going to take from those re-released films could lead towards, some other project like I don't know, maybe for instance, like the 50th anniversary of Jaws does really well, and we may actually get to the point where we actually do see Jaws 19 come from this. I don't want to envision a point where Hollywood gets that desperate to milk a franchise out to that extent, but it is a possibility, especially with the trend of all these remakes and reboots, and re-releases are also not helping that, that familiarity that we need to break away from. But I don't know. I mean, there's no harm in going to the theaters to see a movie that you normally do see, but just on a smaller screen. There is a huge novelty to it, and it definitely beats seeing a remake of it. I think I would much rather go see something like Ghost in the Shell in its original entirety than, see the remake of it in theaters. It's a much better use of your money that way, I think. So I don't know. I may be in the minority when it comes to this, but I think it's just something that I just had to talk about. And I think it's something that I think theater companies could benefit from, especially post pandemic. I know they haven't been doing too hot, but if it means, seeing some classics on the screen again and giving people that experience, fulfilling that FOMO, if you will, I think there is some legitimacy to it. I don't know. That's just me.